Hello and welcome to a new episode of Trauma Bond and Elixir. We're talking about empathy today. Is it necessary in our journey? Is it something that we can later in life develop if it was not modeled to us by a parent or a caregiver? How important is empathy exactly in our lives and in our search for our elixir for that something that will pull us out of where we are today. And in our journey towards healing, in my opinion, empathy is important. And one of the reasons why it is important is because at times you did not have that caregiver, that adult figure to validate those feelings and to show you empathy and to tell you that it's okay and what you are feeling is valid and your experience matters. So, in other words, when you grow up in a very abusive, very insecure, and unstable environment, you might think that the problem is with you. The problem is with you because you're not like them. The problem is with you because you have a different opinion. You might think this is wrong, something is not right in this picture. And nobody else will empathize with you. Everyone will be like, well, this is things, this is the reality. This is how it always is, and you might see the same abuse patterns or the same issues with other family members or with friends, and you might think, why is it that I have this feeling that what's going on around me is just not okay, while everyone seems to be minding their own business? And whether or not empathy can be taught, this is something up to debate because there are schools who teach empathy as a subject in those schools, which I find quite interesting. But as adults, with our wonderful coping skills, with our superpowers, we still need empathy, and we need empathy to heal those past wounds and to reconcile with those times in the past when we were unheard and unseen and unvalidated. And that's important because we need to let go of that past. So, having a therapist, having a friend, having a circle that is willing to listen to you without judgment and validate your feelings and see your point of view, that is very, very important. And what lack of empathy does is it basically disconnects us because you're going around in circles with this burden that you have, and there's nobody there to carry it with you, there's nobody there to lighten it for you. And as time goes by, you keep on holding on to it and it wears you down. You become very tired, and in time, other things come up, and you forget that you're holding on to all these things and that you need to let go of them. But you can't let go of them because you have not found how to do that. You haven't found that person to say, oh, I see what you're saying, I see where you're coming from, I understand your problem, I see your pain, let me help you with that. Okay. And I see this a lot of times in the relationship we have with our partners or the relationship we have with our children. If you come from a very disorganized or unhealthy past, you might think that relationships are one-sided. It's a one-way street. I give and give and give and give and don't expect anything in return. Especially as mothers, we're just taught to constantly put ourselves last, constantly give, be there for our kids, be there for the husband, be there for the house, be there for the job, be there for the friends, be there for the extended family, be understanding and forgiving and forgetful and nobody validates us at times, and nobody sees the pain that we have. And because we've been programmed and taught from an early age that we shouldn't complain, we should just give, at a certain point it comes where you think that asking for your rights or telling people, look, this is not okay with me, is not the norm. It's going against the normal, let's say so. When in fact, speaking up, telling people what you're uncomfortable with, what you're not willing to do, setting up boundaries, that is the normal, that is okay, and that should happen again in a normal environment, in a normal circumstance. But when you are from a past where no one had time, nobody, sometimes people have a lot of material things, but they don't have that emotional support. So then they don't really understand how to regulate, how to show empathy, how to heal themselves from all the negative beliefs and all the negative behavior patterns that they have developed. So, moving on to relationships, at times we think it's a one-way street. It's me giving and the other person just taking. And at the end of the day, you go to sleep, you recharge your batteries, and then you wake up and you dread waking up in the morning. You already feel dead. There's no pleasure to life whatsoever because you're going on and you're spending all your battery and all your energy on others while nobody is giving you a drop of water. So, validation for me is key, and empathy for me is key because it opens that door to you are right. You should not take all the abuse. You should not be in a one way relationship. It's okay if you put your foot down and you ask for more, or it's okay if you work on yourself. It's okay if you ask for some boundaries. It's okay to not be willing to satisfy everybody else all the time. And if you are a people pleaser, again, this would be very difficult for you to do. And it would feel that you're going against all the atoms in your body when you say no to somebody. If you have rejection sensitivity dysphoria, or just rejection sensitivity in general, it will feel so bad and so painful to let other people down. And you will think it's you are being the bad person because you're creating all the problems, when in fact you are being a normal caring adult. And as a normal caring loving adult, you yourself have certain needs and you yourself have certain expectations and certain boundaries, and that's perfectly fine. It's okay for you to demand the same respect that other people demand from you, and vice versa. Healthy relationships are a two-way street. I come and I tell you about my bad day, I tell you about my problems. You validate my problems and you validate my feelings. You give me advice on how to move forward or how to get past it. You help me regulate my emotions if that's what I need. At times you might want to go out there and search for a solution, whatever it takes. And the other partner does the same thing. If there's a problem, we fix it together, we discuss it together, we go through it together, we find solutions together. It's not about what I want all the time, and no matter how much you try to do it, it's never enough. that should not be okay, and that never is okay. But given the circumstances and given the background that we all have, we might believe that that's the normal because that's how we lived and that's what we know. So if you did grow up in this environment that was starved from emotional affection, that was starved of empathy, you will kind of feel at a point it will come in your life where you might have a lot of pride in your work, in your job, in where you have become, but inside you will be a bit dead and you will dread your life because you will find it meaningless. What's the purpose of things? Like, what for? And as I said, for me, validation is the gate opener to exploration, to see how we can go about healing. How bad is it? How wonderful could it be? And you know all the things that come into this. I would really love to hear from you. Let me know if you think empathy is something that can be taught in schools, like a curriculum, like any other topic. If you think that empathy is something you're born with, and of course we do have high empathic people, and I'm gonna dedicate some time to that later in the podcast. In my opinion, we learn empathy because we see it in others, and others model empathy for us growing up. But again, you might not have that. So it's a wonderful topic, and I would like to hear your thoughts on it. This is for today. I will see you next week.